G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, October 30th, 2023. I hope everything's working correctly. I haven't had a chance to check my microphone and everything because it has been playing up a little bit. So hopefully I'm okay. If it's not, just let me know. I see Cole Champion is already in the chat. How are you there, mate? Good evening to you as well. You got a question there straight away before we get into it? Just curious, do you get paid to broadcast this show? Or is it just fun fan base? No, it's just for fun, Kyle. I do have a regular job or I own my own business, so that's what I do during the day. Well, 7 days a week, whatever it is. I just do this for fun, mate, and enjoy it. It's just a hobby of mine, and all the videos I do, it's just my views and everything on boxing. So I hope you enjoy it, mate. And you've been here every week, so I really appreciate you being here. What do you got there, Mitch? Pay to be the only broadcast to not talk about Fury and Ngannou this weekend. Well, that's totally up to you guys because it's Talking Boxing. It's your show. So if you haven't been here before, all the topics that we talk about are up to you. So I just host the show. Of course, I have my own input, and I'm sorry, Mitch, to break it to you. I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of people want to talk about the Fury and Ngannou fight tonight. If it doesn't come up, if you want to hear my view, check out my my review of the fight. I put it up yesterday. It's on YouTube. Also, the review of Justice Honey and Anthony Tabiti. I'm sure we want to talk about that one, but yeah, well, we'll wait and see what comes through anyway, Mitch. But I just got a feeling, mate, that it's going to come up at some stage. There's Paul. How are you, Paul? Welcome to the show, mate. I haven't seen Big J in here yet, so I'm assuming he's not on the broadcast yet. He's normally got a few things to discuss. Well, there you go. There's the first comment there, Mitch. Fury got beat. No way the judges were going to go against him. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Paul. Isn't it? Like, look, I must admit, I thought, look, it was an absolutely atrocious fight from Fury's perspective. I thought the promotion itself was okay. The entertainment was obviously top notch, although the time between the main support and the main event was just ridiculous. I think sometimes, I know they want to entertain everyone. I get that. They want to do things a little bit differently. They want to show the fans out there some, something they don't normally see at boxing events. But hey, that's fine. But let's keep it to no more than half an hour in between the main event or the co-main and the main. I remember I went to, might have been the second Canelo Triple G fight at the T-Mobile Arena. What was that, 2018? And all the prelim fights are all mismatches. They all went 1 or 2 rounds. And we waited about an hour and a half between the main event or the co-main and main. So a little bit worse than watching it on TV because you can go do whatever you're going to do. But in the arena, it's not so much fun. But as far as what you're saying there, mate, look, as I said, I thought he did enough, but only because the experience got him through in the end. I thought, obviously, the 10-8 round in the third round. But I just thought he just stole the rounds as it went on. Didn't do anything spectacular, I'm saying. All he did was really... the screen there, it's my fluorescent shirt, and even my beard's got the background in it. Anyway, we'll continue on. But, yeah, I just thought he stole a few rounds. And in those last 2, maybe 3 rounds, I just don't think Ngannou was just busy enough. You know, he just slowed down to a walk. And Tyson Fury, who was almost out on his feet with exhaustion, he was so far out of whack as far as his timing and distance and range and all that goes. Pretty much Ngannou handed in the last couple of rounds, which ended up being the difference in the fight. So I think it was just a little bit of inexperience from Ngannou. But it was close enough, Paul. I'm with you, mate. I'm not going to dispute what you saw there. It was close enough. It could have gone either way. What was it, 95, 94 for both of them? And was it the other one, 93, 97? Which I just can't see that. 7 rounds to 3 for Fury. But anyway. Let's get to a few comments. Batman, how are you, mate? Batman Boxing, Fury let the world down. Jeez, mate. Still had him winning, but damn, wow, that was disgraceful. I'm with you, Batman. It was, look, I think the common theme around everything is that he embarrassed boxing and himself. Now, I get the whole circus act, what's going on at the moment with the whole YouTuber bullshit. I was really surprised that he got sucked into this. And I know Ngannou wasn't a YouTuber, but it was a novelty fight, a circus type of fight. And I just don't think Fury trained well enough, took the fight serious enough, took the whole promotion serious enough, pretty much took the piss out of boxing fans. And I think, this is a guy that's been universally loved in the last few years. We all know about his personal problems and where he came from and the battles he fought to win the title back, and the fights with Wilder and all those sorts of things. The respect, universally loved. Now, in one fight, well, probably not just this one fight, but in the lead up to it with some of his antics, he's put a lot of people offside, and a lot of people are pretty pissed off, Batman. You look like you're one of them, and I'm a little bit the same. Pissed off that he's brought boxing down to this standard. I get the Tommy Furies of the world and a lot of these other boxers are either on the way out or on the way up, whatever it might be, doing these sorts of things for followers and money and all. I get that. But when you've got the heavyweight champion of the world or co-heavyweight champion of the world doing these types of things, when he's got big fights out there, it really brings the whole sport down. Now, that fight yesterday should have been Usyk. That should have been the fight, should have been made a long time ago. And it's not going to be December 23rd now, obviously, and we all knew that was never going to be the case. But it's definitely not happening now. So will it happen at all? I think it will. But yeah, I'm with you there, Batman. He let a lot of people down. Still with Batman there. Fury outlanded Francis in 7 of the 10 rounds. Yeah, still won. Looked terrible though, and let my beloved boxing down. Yeah, mate. As I said, you're not the only one out there that's feeling very, very let down. And I think seeing a few of the post-fight interviews with Tyson Fury, I think he feels the heat. He feels the disappointment. He feels the anger. And he's lucky he didn't feel his first defeat. Let's face it. I'm with you there, Batman. I thought I would have probably given him 6 rounds to 4. I just don't think Ngannou did enough to win. Maybe it could have been a draw. I don't know. But Ngannou, just in my opinion, just didn't do enough to put that exclamation mark on the end of the fight and finish hard. And not that Fury did much either, but I just thought he finished a little bit stronger to, just win the round. And I think the difference with the rounds, the rounds that Ngannou won were probably pretty clear cut. The rounds that Fury won were a lot closer. That's probably where a lot of people are thinking that maybe Ngannou won the fight. But either way, even though Fury got the decision, he is the biggest loser in this fight. And Ngannou is the biggest winner, if that makes sense. So, Tommy B, how are you, mate? Hey, Lynden, loving those weekly boxing news shows you've been doing, mate. Thank you. Look, the views haven't been overly great, Tommy, but I appreciate it. Look, it's just me. I love putting out the content. I've sort of gotten past the whole how many views we're getting and all the stuff that people do with all the hashtags and the reels and all this sort of stuff. I haven't got time for all that sort of stuff. I just put it out. If people want to watch it, that's great. But I'm glad there's people out there like you, Tommy, that like the content I'm putting out. What I try and do is obviously tonight we do the Friday news segment. I do another show on the weekend, whether it be the top 10 pound for pound ratings or the What's Your Verdict, or I've got another one coming up soon, boxing's biggest upsets. A few weeks ago we did Australia's boxing's biggest controversy. So I'll just try and mix it up a little bit. And I will try and do the other Wednesday night show. It's been a little bit hard with getting the boys organised, but I'm going to do something anyway on that night, but we'll think of what we can do. But anyway, you can tell I live a really exciting life, can't you, out there, that I'm on here 4 days a week. I'm glad you like it though, Tommy. Thank you, mate. Mutsy, hi, mate. How do you reckon Huni will go against a big heavyweight? Needs a bit more power, maybe. Yeah, look, I did comment on the video, Mutsy, that, look, I think it's pretty obvious. He hasn't got that real one-punch knockout power. He's more an accumulation type of puncher. But you got to remember that his opposition hasn't been too bad. There's probably 1 or 2 early in his career that were pretty much overmatched, and he got them out of there as he should. But he's fought actually pretty good opposition so far. And yesterday, Tapiti was a very, very credible opponent. And I think Usyk's shown, though, Mutsy, I don't think you have to be a big puncher to succeed. I mean, Usyk's got by with just boxing ability, and Huni's got it in spades. And the thing that I like about Huni that is the same as Usyk. Not being a big puncher is not a massive issue because he outclasses pretty much every single fighter that he fights with speed, natural boxing ability, great footwork. He's in and out. His work rate, more importantly. So he's going to be a handful for anyone. And I just don't think the power is a big issue. Now, just maybe envision him fighting who's like a Daniel Dubois, like probably a fringe, no, not a fringe contender, but one of the guys in the mix. Or a Joe Joyce or one of those types of guys. I think his work rate would be way too much for them. I think his footwork would be too much for him. I just don't think they'd be able to hit him clean. So I don't think he's going to knock a lot of these guys out. But like Usyk, I think he's just going to have all the tools to beat all these guys. As I said, just that work rate alone. You look at the pace of yesterday's fight. Tabiti didn't know really what to do because Horny's work rate was so busy. And I just don't think those heavyweights are going to be able to go with him. And we all think Usyk's busy. Well, Huni's probably the busiest heavyweight in the world as far as his work rate per round. So I don't think it's a massive issue, Mutzi. But we'll see. Mitch, a few fights finally announced for the No Limit card in a few weeks. Okay, I didn't see that. A lot of our local fighters here in Newcastle. I did see that actually, yeah. I think I saw Glenn Jennings put that up. Still very intrigued as to what's happening with Hardman. Well, I'm on BoxRec at the moment. Mitch, where are we? All right, well, let's have a quick look with what's happening. All right, there's the card there. I'm just going to take your comment off there. All right, so you can see there who we got. Nikita Tszyu, Dylan Biggs, of course. Mark Schliebs and Nathan Sings. Now, I'm surprised that fight's on the card. I mean, Mark Schliebs, so disappointing on the last card he was on against Rocky Ogden after all the talking it up and what he got blown out in a round. So, and Nathan Singh 7-1. Is he Fijian? I think he is. Anyway, but Mark Schlieb's not from Newcastle, so I don't know why he would be on that card. But anyway, Jason Fawcett will fight Travis Druce over 6 rounds. That Schlieb's Singh fight is also at 6. Vegas Larfield, love Vegas Larfield. Jack Tricida, is it Tricida? And it's over 6. Liam Taliva and Brandon Grush over 6. And Amber Amelia, yep, really good fight last time out. Brent Walton as well. The big question is, guys, and I'm going to ask you, is it worth $60? Is it worth $60? Nikita Tszyu, Dylan Biggs. I'm pretty sure Isaac Hardman's going to be on this card, so we'll see what happens. But is this card worth $60? Looking at it, I better be careful here, but just looking at that card, I don't think so. I don't think I'll get it anyway because I'm there for the main event. But for the ones out there that are sitting on the fence, is it worth it or not? For $60, there's not a real main or co-main on that card. So I hope Isaac Hardman fights someone pretty good. But anyway, we'll see. All right, Glenn, how are you, mate? Welcome to the show. We'll keep going. Mitch Cook, I've probably jumped ahead here, guys. You probably already answered this. As it stands, it's looking a very bleak pay-per-view event, yes. Especially for the casual fan. Not sure Nikita is at the level yet to hold a card on his own with no big co-main. Well, let's hope, as I said, Mitch, that Isaac Hardman gets a quality opponent. But none of those fights, I'm sure they'll be entertaining. I don't know a lot about those guys. It's great to see Vegas Larfield on there. I like him. Amber Amelia is another one. Don't know much about the others. As I said, Mark Schliebs got blown out and around in the last one he was on, and he's fighting a Fijian with no, unless he's from, is he based in maybe Newcastle? Let's have a look. No, it doesn't say that he is. It just says he's from Suva, Fiji. So I don't know. Don't know why that fight would be on that card. Seems a bit of a waste of a 6-rounder, if you ask me, for some really good up-and-coming fighters out there. He talks it up pretty well, Mark, but hasn't delivered. So anyway, but I'm with you there, Mitch, for $60. I'm not sure. There he is, Big J. Don't worry, mate. I'm here, just experiencing technical difficulties. The bloody computer is going to get a worse beating than what I'm going to give to McAllister if it doesn't start working. You guys play nice. I'm sure Jai might be watching. If he is, g'day to you, Jai, doing some great work there. Hey, well, Big J, everyone else is making money out of these novelty fights. Why don't you do it as well? We can do it on here. I'll do it on my YouTube channel. I think I said that the other week. But anyway, Glenn, on that performance, Usyk absolutely smokes Fury. Yeah. Yeah, I think I said in my video as well, Glenn, I don't think we're going to see the same version of Fury if and when he fights Usyk. I think you'll see a much more switched on and prepared Fury. Whether it's still enough, who knows? But geez, based on that yesterday, it was woeful. Absolutely woeful. This looked like a guy who had pretty much just lost it overnight. He was washed up. No timing. He's never been the fastest guy, but everything he threw seemed to miss. His power. He's never been a big puncher anyway. And look, I'll disclose one thing. I've always been a massive, well, not a massive fan, but a big fan of Tyson, just purely and solely by what he brings to the sport. Okay, always the entertainer, always always turns up the fight. So I've always been a fan. However, do I think he's one of the all-time heavyweight greats? Absolutely not. I've never really thought that, and even was probably obviously more highlighted yesterday. So, people comparing him to the Ali era, yeah, he's undefeated, but Rocky Marciano was undefeated, and I didn't really have him super high as well. I'm just going to put my hand in the camera there because I've lost focus. But yeah, I've never been one of those people that thought Fury was an elite all-time heavyweight, but I thought he was great for the sport, and I really admired what he did to pull himself out of the hole and get himself back in it. And I think I won't talk too long because there's a few comments coming through, but I think the thing Tyson Fury needs to do more than anything, tell his dad to shut up and get out of the picture. That's the first thing. He turns the whole thing into a friggin' circus. And you see the other day when he's trying to face off with Ngannou, that's got to be distracting to your son. I know Tyson Fury laughs it off, but I think if Tyson Fury is serious to get him back to where he needs to be to beat Usyk, he needs to get back in the gym. And this 12-week thing, come on, Tyson. You're kidding us, aren't you? That was 12 weeks. It was more like 12 days, if you ask me. But he needs to get back in the gym, focus on what he needs to focus on that got him where he is, and tell his dad to get out of the picture and shut up and go somewhere else and mouth off. Go do it on the Jake Paul promotion, because that is just embarrassing. And it has to be distracting. It has to be. What a tool. Challenging Mike Tyson to a fight. Come on. If you're not sure who Tyson Fury's dad is, John Fury, look him up on YouTube. 8-4 record. To call him a journeyman has probably been a compliment, because he was just some guy that most people just took fun knocking out. So, anyway, but he talks tough. But I'm not a fan of his dad being in the picture at all, so piss off. That's all I'll say. Batman. What do we got there? Fury not showing the clear separation we all needed and wanted. Guarantees more of these crossover fights. So annoyed, and I'm really disappointed in Fury. Yeah, well, let's just hope this doesn't open the door for more of these fights. And I know a lot of people said, oh, well, Floyd did it. You got to remember that Floyd Mayweather did it when he was, how old was he? It was, 6 years ago? He would have been 40 years old when he fought Conor McGregor. And it was the end of his career. It was over. He made no secret that it was a money grab to close out his career at 50-0. And he didn't try and hide the fact that this was a real fight. And if you watch the fight, he could have got it over in a couple of rounds if he wanted to, but he gave the fans a show. That was probably almost like an exhibition, if you ask me. Tyson Fury has got massive fights out there for him if he wants. He's got, obviously, the Usyk fight. He's got the Zhang fight. So there's some big fights. Obviously, Joshua, probably not Wilder, but Joshua out there as well. So some big fights. Why would you want to fight Francis Ngannou? I just don't get it. I don't get it. If in 2 years' time he wanted to fight Ngannou, hey, no drama, knock yourself out. Get these big fights out there. Or even if you come out and said, I'm going to fight Usyk, then I'm going to fight Joshua, then I might even fight Zhang, or you never know, I might even fight this Ngannou guy for some big money crossover fight. I don't think we would begrudge him that. But when you're foregoing fights against Usyk and Joshua and Zhang and these types of guys to fight Ngannou, as good as he was, Ngannou, it just takes the piss and makes a mockery of the sport we love. And as I said before, I think we're all pretty pissed off today. We're pissed off. We are. So if you're watching this, Tyson, I don't think he's a regular viewer, but if you are, Tyson, come on. Maybe Batman agrees. Maybe we should have sent in Zhang. That Zhang, I think would have knocked out Tyson through, to be honest. Luke, what's that? Cuckold? Okay, how are you, Luke? Fury disgraced boxing. I love MMA, but don't like seeing this for boxing. Fury should have been able to jump out of bed beating this guy. Francis only started training MMA 10 years ago, let alone boxing. Yeah, well, mate, joining the chorus with the rest of us, it was just an absolute embarrassment for Tyson and the sport. So what does he do now? Does he fight Ngannou again, or does he take the Usyk fight? I think he'll obviously fight Usyk, but does he have to fight Ngannou again? Don't know. Kyle says Amanda Serrano not taking any fights unless they are 12 3-minute rounds. How do you think the WBC will act? Will she get stripped? No, I don't think she'll get stripped, Kyle. I think you have to do a fair bit wrong these days to get stripped by the WBC, don't you? I mean, we've seen it with Charlo, both Charlos, that is. We've seen it with Tyson Fury. He's foregone mandatories to fight Ngannou. I don't think they will, man. I mean, how could you strip someone because they want to fight a champion because they want to fight 12 3-minute rounds? I did see, speaking of that fight, they brought out the punch stats. You know, they took great delight in getting it out there that it was almost 3 times as many punches as what Canelo and Charlo threw. But let's just face facts here, guys. Canelo and Charlo are probably the most low output fighters out there at the moment. Canelo, regularly only throws 30 or 40 punches around. Charlo with that. Canelo likes to throw quality over quantity. And I don't know what Charlo wants to do. He sort of tends to mix it up, but thought that was a bit unfair. But I get it. They're trying to highlight that fight. And I'm glad it went according to plan. Serrano won every round, which he won 120, 108 on all 3 scorecards. Looked really good. Yeah, but I don't think they'll strip her there, Kyle. I wouldn't have thought so. Big J, Fury looked as bad as his body shape. Ngannou didn't come to play. Fury effed around and he found out. Maybe if he focused on his training rather than the size of somebody's old fella, he'd be right. I didn't see that one, mate. But yeah, look, Tyson Fury's never been, I suppose, the model of physical fitness, I suppose, has he? But he's always got around it with boxing skills. And, I mean, let's face it, at heavyweight, you don't have to have the chiseled sort of torso. But I just don't think he counted on the fact that Ngannou was coming to win. I think that's what it comes down to. Ngannou came to win. Now, I think Fury just thought he'd turn up, as we all did. But when you're fighting a punch like that, there's always the danger there. And he almost paid the price in the 3rd round. Now, I just think he thought Ngannou was going to go along with the script. They were going to box it out for 10 rounds. Fury would win a unanimous decision, and we'd all shake hands. We'd all make lots of money. We'd all go home. He forgot that Ngannou was there to win, and as I said, he almost paid the price. Glenn says, Tyson is obviously over boxing. I seriously think he retires. I think he needs that Usyk fight, Glenn. I wouldn't. And does he need the Joshua fight, or does that become one of those massive fights that just always were destined to happen and just didn't for one reason or another? Now, I cannot believe that we're sitting here, however long it's been, that Joshua and Fury have been around and these two guys haven't fought. It is almost a definition of stupidity from all involved. Egos being played out or involved in it, whether it be the boxers themselves or the promotional firms. Tyson Fury doesn't like Eddie Hearn, so he doesn't want to give him the satisfaction. Eddie Hearn doesn't like Fury, so he's going to, make him. It just doesn't make sense. When Joshua was the champion, he should have fought Fury, and when Fury was the champion, he should have fought Joshua. Should have given each other an opportunity when they were both in the box seat. Now, all this squabbling over money and locations and all this bullshit they all go on with, it's definitely going to affect their legacy. I still think we get the Usyk fight and we get the Joshua fight, but wouldn't it just be an absolute tragedy if these two guys never fought? It would just be ridiculous. At 2 English heavyweights of massive image, appeal, stature, profile, whatever you want to call it, around at the same time in history, and they don't fight each other. I just don't get it. Glenn, I don't think he's over boxing, although he's very close. Very, very close to being over boxing. I just don't think he took the fight seriously, mate. Big J says, make no mistake about it, Fury will destroy Usyk. Usyk too small and has a jelly belly. Has Usyk got the jelly belly? He's gone up in weight, I suppose. I'm with you though, Big J. As I said before, I don't think we'll see the same, subpar performance from Tyson Fury next time. I think we'll see a lot better and more improved Fury who comes to fight, comes to win, massive stakes. This is his legacy at stake. I mean, if this one hasn't heard it, he needs the Usyk one to bring him back or to bring it back up to where it was. I think, look, I'm not quite sure who I'll pick at this stage, BJ. Obviously, based on yesterday, I'd have to say Usyk would be, well, a favourite to many. But I still think if the right Tyson Fury turns up, that he will be a bit too big and strong for Usyk. But we'll see. Glenn says, not a chance. Volume and movement will completely befuddle Fury. Okay, well, there's the counter argument. I like it. Big J says, Huni looks solid but needs that KO power. Plus Andrew Maloney back on December 9 on a wildcard event against a Philippine fighter. Not bad, but should still be in the top tier of fighters. Yeah, I didn't know about that one last week, mate. I spoke to Will and he said that was sort of going to happen. So, look, I think it's great. I think it's great for Andrew Maloney to come to or back to his hometown of Melbourne. Will always puts on great events on the wild card series. It's at the Pullman, which is a great venue. I think they get about 1,500 people or something like that in there. So I'm sure it'll be packed out on the night. Andrew's got a massive following. He's fighting, is it Judy? Who was it? I can't remember. Hang on. I think I've got it written down here somewhere. I had it. Anyway, what did I do with it? The news. He's fighting. No, I haven't got it there. Sorry. But it's Judy, someone from the Philippines. I think he's 13-1, I think. So, look, being a Filipino fighter, he will come to fight. He'll be prepared. He'll look. Yeah, the fact he's world ranked as well, I think he'll give Andrew a good fight. But I just think it's important. Look, I wouldn't have been too stressed if Andy had the rest of the year off because we've seen what happened in the last fight. It was a bad knockout. But I'm glad he's gonna come back, get this one out the road, get a win under his belt, and then we'll see where he goes next year. I think he's still got some good fights left in him, Andrew. I have spoken to him a couple of times, and he's in good spirits. And I think he's, it's not like I don't think the knockout hurt him badly mentally. That can happen in those types of losses. So I think you'll see a good performance from Andy, and back into it next year with hopefully maybe another crack at the world title. Kyle says, Lynden, I might have some talent for you to interview. I myself have a media background, but could I email you? There's not enough space in these posts if you're interested. Yeah, always up for it, Kyle. We've interviewed a lot of people on this show over the journey, so always up for someone to interview, mate. Look, I don't do it as much as I used to. When we first started this channel, I tried to sort of interview someone every week or two, but sometimes it's really hard lining them up, and they don't know how to work the internet properly, and they're late and they can't make it, and it's a lot of things. So long story short, I got to the point where it was just in a too hard basket, so I sort of stopped doing it for a while. You would have seen we still have Glenn Jennings on every now and then. We've had Shannon Connell, the Maloney boys, whatever. But mate, I'm up. If it's someone that wants to or is able to come on, I would love to get it on. Luke says Fury had a close decision against McDermott, dropped by a blown-up cruiserweight in Cunningham. Yep. Dropped 4 times against one-dimensional Wilder and dropped by MMA Francis. Does Fury have a questionable jaw? I'm not sure he's got a questionable jaw, Luke. I just think he's susceptible and leaves himself open for those types of punches and obviously to get pulled down. I don't think in any of the fights you could probably make a case for the first Wilder fight when he got dropped in the 10th round. I don't think that was a real. I mean, it looked bad, but it was more of a glancing. It was sort of hunched down, and Wilder sort of followed through with the momentum that's pretty much just bowled him over. I don't think it was the full momentum of the punch that knocked him down. So I don't think he was that hurt in that one either. I think he just needed his time to get up. But I haven't seen him really get up and be really in a lot of trouble. Yes, he's been shaken. I think he takes a pretty good punch, to be honest, Luke. But yeah, I just think he puts himself in positions to be vulnerable, to be knocked down. But so far, I haven't seen him really in a lot of trouble, which probably answers the question about the questionable jaw. Because I think he takes a punch pretty well, does Tyson Fury. Is he overhyped? Well, I think in terms of his own standing in his own mind, yeah, I think so. But no, look, he's got enough runs on the board, Luke, that he's earned respect and praise for what he's done in boxing. As I said before, though, I just don't put him in the top, the top heavyweights of all time. And as I said before, to even compare him to Muhammad Ali, you got to do it over the duration of his career. And he hasn't really, when you think about the Wilder fights, Klitschko hasn't really had those signature wins, I don't think. I don't count the Chizoras and Whites of the world. I don't rate them, especially Ngannou. So look at the career of Ali. Yeah, he lost a few fights, but they're all against all-time greats. Beat some, lost some, but in between had a lot of title defenses, won the title 3 times. That's why I just don't think Tyson Fury is anywhere near the league of Muhammad Ali. And to be honest with you, I don't put him anywhere near, obviously, Joe Louis. I don't put him anywhere near Larry Holmes, who I think is the most underrated and underhyped heavyweight of all time. So underrated is Larry Holmes. So he's one. I just don't put him in that that bracket. Even the Foremans and Frasers and these types of guys, Tyson, Mike Tyson's I'm talking about, Lennox Lewis's. I just don't put him in that category. But overhyped, no, I don't think he's overhyped. Best win was over 39-year-old Vlad Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko, I will say. Yeah, probably was. I think I still count the Wilder fight as his best. Probably I suppose you could either count either of the second or third fights, I think. I think Klitschko was pretty much dusted when Tyson beat him, although he was the champion, so you can't take that away from Tyson Fury. But I think he was past his past his best. But I still think either the second or third Wilder fights for me are his best wins. Glenn says about the Zoo Biggs card, not worth $60, not even close. Yeah, I'm sort of with you there, mate. Look, and I think, and I will say, Nikita Zoo is my favourite Aussie fighter. I mean, I love the Maloney twins, of course, and I love Isaac Harmon, but I think Nikita Zoo brings something to Australian boxing that a lot of the others don't. I think he's great. But I just don't think he's ready to carry a card by himself. Now, if they put a really stellar undercard on underneath him, no problem. I think he's got that pull. Although I do think maybe the pressure might be a little bit too much too early for him, but he's handled himself all right, so we'll see. But to put on, I'm not saying the undercard's subpar and that, because I'm sure they're all going to be good fights, but when you're actually asking people to pay $60 for it, no, I'm with you there, Glenn. I don't see it. Now, if Hardman fights a world-class opponent on the undercard, well, maybe that bridges the gap a little bit, but $60. I mean, and the thing is, when you're charging $60 a pay-per-view buy, now I don't know how many they'll get. Let's just say, 10,000. I don't know. I'm just picking a number. 10,000. What's that? $600,000? Or I missed a zero there. Hang on. Hang on, I'll add it up as we're going. So 10,000 times $60. All right, we've got 600,000. Main event will probably take half of that. Still leaves you about 300,000. They'll probably get 100,000 through the gate. There's $400,000 there. Now I don't know what these guys are getting paid. I'm assuming that Nikita's on good money. Dylan will get good money, but the whole show itself, I know the promoters have got to make money, but there's a fair old chunk of money there. If you take out maybe $100,000 for the main event guys to shares, there's a fair bit of money there left to put on a really, really good undercard. And I just don't think that's it. Now, I'm just sort of plucking numbers here from what I know about the promotional game. I'm not saying I know any inside information. I'm just guessing. But there's plenty of money in the kitty to put on a real quality undercard, which they've done in the past. They've really invested heavily in their card. So I don't understand. I do understand the Newcastle element to it, but isn't it about pay-per-views? These days, attendance at the venue is secondary. It's all about the pay-per-views. And if you've got, judging by what I'm seeing on here with the comments, a lot of people saying, oh, will I or won't I? Yeah, I like Nikita, but it's not Tim. It's not Tim who charges $60, who we paid $60 for. This is Nikita, who's still on his way up. Dylan Biggs, good young kid. Unproven though. The undercard doesn't jump out at me. Yeah, I think I'll give it a miss and watch it on YouTube the next day or that night, whatever. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about, where I think they need an overall card. And I just don't think Nikita's, as much as I love him, I just don't think he's in the position to carry a $60 card. Anyway, what do you guys think? And I'll go back to what I've said all along. They need the numbered cards. No limit 1, no limit 2, no limit 3. So it's about the card, not the actual fighter that's headlining it. Look forward to the next numbered card like we do with UFC. We're looking ahead to UFC 296, whatever it is. Look forward to no limit 7, no limit 8. That's what we're looking forward to. Not, they've got a pay-per-view due. I wonder who they're going to put on. And, they put all the money into one fight and then it's a shallow undercard. So Anyway, I've been told not to dwell on these questions too long, so I'll keep going. Jackie Dilks, how are you, mate? Absolutely not worth the money. No Limit are getting real complacent. I think, well, I am with you there, Jackie. I think they are getting complacent. I just don't know, as I said, why you wouldn't be investing heavily in your card when you've got a fair bit of coin up your sleeve. I don't understand it. As I said, I know the promoters need to make money, and the pay-per-views are their money makers. I don't even know what numbers they get. I was just sort of pluck 10,000 out. It could be more. I don't know, but No Limit just seemed to be just going away from the thing that made them super successful, and that was about putting on quality cards, quality shows, not falling into the trap that a lot of other promoters do. It's all in the one in the one main event. The difference with this one is the main event is good. I love it. I'm actually contemplating going up there for it, but the undercard, you need to be a bit deeper, I think, No Limit boys, if you're watching. Big J says, no pay-per-view has ever been worth $60, not even close. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Big J. Look, when you break it down, I would pay, well, it depends on if you've got people over and everything else, but I don't think $60 is a lot to ask for a big show. You got to remember, if you want to go to a big show, you got airfare, accommodation, the price of the ticket, everything else that goes with it, all your cost of goods, your food and drink and all that sort of stuff. So it blows out really quick. Trust me, I went up to the Tim Tszyu fight a few weeks back, and it cost a bloody fortune, I can tell you. Yeah, let's go up to Queensland for the weekend. Yeah, well, that sounds all right. Holy shit, when you got 4 people going up, it adds up really quick. So for $60 to sit in the comfort of your own home and watch it on the big screen, go have a few beers, whatever else. I'm not, I think it's actually quite cheap. But I think for the really big cards, especially this card, I just don't get how they're charging $60, and be interesting to see the feedback from fans and how many tickets they actually sell to the night. But also, I think actually the venue should be sold out. But how many people actually tune in for the main event or the pay-per-view, and whether after this one main event go to the No Limit boys and say, hey boys, we need some more content here, guys. This is not cutting the mustard. This is not what we agreed on. So, and look, I think I love what No Limit are doing, but they just need to get back to what they did to make them who they are. I remember when they first started with the Tim Tszyu promotions, everyone was just so complimentary, and that's hard to do with boxing fans. Very hard to please sometimes boxing fans, but it was universally accepted out there that the shows were great events. But this one, I don't know, $60, and on a Wednesday night as well. So anyway, Kyle, is there any place I can view old pay-per-views just trying to find some Shanika Johnson fights? It's impossible. I promoted about 6 or 7 of her fights, Kyle. I've put a few on YouTube. No pay-per-views, of course, but yeah, I'm not sure, mate. But I reckon I've put 2, 3, 4 of her fights on YouTube at some stage. So check them out on there. But yeah, I'm not sure. You can actually go to Main Events channel on Foxtel, and they'll have all the old pay-per-views on there. I think you can watch if she's been a part of it. So check it out. Dan P, how are you, mate? Hi, Lynden, $60 for that card is a joke. Yep, well, there's another one. Luke says, Don King used to put on some well worth $60 cards. I used to love his undercards compared to today's boxing. Well, mate, you talk about investing in your cards. Well, Don King was the king, wasn't he? He put on some great shows. I remember, when he had some massive events back in the day, the Julio Cesar Chavez's, and obviously Mike Tyson and Azuma Nelson and all these guys, some great fights. You'd get those cards and you'd have, 3 or if not 4 world title fights on the card. It was just incredible. And, he copped the bad rap, didn't he, old Don King? Everyone used to take the piss out of him, and he was putting on the best shows of anyone that's probably ever put on, ever, I think. I'm with you there, mate. Mutsy, what's that there? Even $30 would be a stretch. I'll bet the next in-away card is $30. Yeah, well, I think probably will be, mate. And also, it might even be free if it's on DAZN, I think. But the Fury Ngannou fight was, I think, $40 yesterday. The Canelo-Charlo fight was only $40. I'll just explain a little bit in defense of the No Limit boys for starters, by the way. But the Canelo and Charlo, those types of fights, the reason they're only $40, because that's probably what a pay-per-view is worth. I get that. But the no limit guys, they've obviously got to make money. This is their main income stream. So that's probably why they charge $60, because they can. Because they want to see Tim Zoo, or in this case Nikita Zoo, or wherever it might be. They know that they look at the figures and go, what do we have to charge these guys to make bank? And $60 it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Zoo keeps going the way he's going. I wouldn't be surprised if you see it bumped up to $70 at some stage, because I know people are going to pay it. And if you got 20,000 views with an extra $10, it all adds up, doesn't it? So, but I'm with you there, Mutsy. I'm glad you guys are having your say here, because I was a bit curious about it, I must admit. Would people pay $60 for that card? All right. Shakur called Fury the best heavyweight of all time. Jeez, what drugs is Shakur on? Wonder how he feels about that now. Yep, exactly. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Tank Davis in 2024. I'm predicting. Sean, let's bring him up for, what is it? Sean O'Malley. Is he a crossover, is he? Sorry, Luke. Sorry, mate. I'm looking him up on BoxRec, but I'm assuming you're taking the piss, because I don't know Sean O'Malley. I don't follow UFC. I'm assuming he's a UFC guy. So, Batman Boxing. What do we get? Definitely Fury looks so bad. I really doubt he trained correctly. Yeah, mate. As I said, 12 days, not 12 weeks. Expect a lot more crossover fights. Francis versus Wilder will be fireworks. Yeah, I did see that. They were talking about that one. That'd be a good fight. I just don't think we should all get, the UFC guys and Ngannou fans should get a little, too excited about what happened yesterday. Great effort. I take my hat off to him. Full respect to Ngannou. But let's not get carried away, because the thing is when he fights a real boxer next time, they're not going to take him lightly. They're going to take him very, very seriously. I don't think he'd lay a glove on Usyk. I think Anthony Joshua would probably bomb him out as well. And I think Deontay Wilder would make an absolute mess of Francis Ngannou. Because Ngannou, as good as he was yesterday, straight up and down fighter, right in front of you, doesn't have a lot of head movement, not a lot of lateral movement. Stand in front of Wilder, and it is a recipe for disaster. And I would see a right hand straight down the pipe, ironing Francis Ngannou out in 1 or 2 rounds. So that's why I'll see that. Yeah, somebody's getting KO'd. It's not going to be Wilder, I don't reckon, mate. Look, but then again, he does leave himself nice and open, doesn't he, Wilder? As I said, as good as Ngannou was yesterday, he's not going to get someone as unprepared as Fury was yesterday. And sometimes, as they say, styles make fights. He just had that sprawling type of style. And I did say in my review as well, he just did things that I don't think Fury could counter, because Fury's used to fighting elite heavyweights in every fight, or close to elite, world-class fighters anyway. And Ngannou just did things as a novice boxer, that is, that I just don't think he could read. And that's probably why it was so unpredictable. But when you come up against an elite fighter going forward, well, they're going to study the tapes and not going to leave it into chance. And I think he had his crack yesterday, and I just don't think he's going to get another opportunity like he did. Big J, this is about the pay-per-view. Speaking of novelty fights, T Street on his channel has challenged John Fury to a fight. Sounds like a good idea, and I'll undercard with McAllister if he has the guts. That'll be worth $60. Well, I hope you get your $60. But John Fury, what is wrong with this guy? I just wish Tyson would say, "Dad, I love you, but just stay away." I mean, the whole vision of him taking the shirt off and going the face off with Ngannou, I don't know, I was trying to unsettle Ngannou. What was he thinking? What was going through his mind? Am I going to have to watch, out of the corner of my eye, am I going to get king hit or something? I don't know. It was just bizarre. It really was. But I'll pay to see you fight McAllister there, Big J. Jai, if you're out there watching, let us know. What's your answer? We'll get you one live, and we'll do a announcement on here. All right, Batman Boxing. Billy Joe Saunders came out and said too many yes men in the camp. Yep, I saw that. But that Fury will be switched on for Usyk. That's the way I see it, Batman. I agree with Billy Joe Saunders that too many yes men in the camp, and that's what can happen. Maybe that's what Tyson Fury needs, is to get rid of the camp or the team that he's got and bring in an outside voice, maybe a Freddie Roach or someone like that who doesn't, or Robert Garcia, although I think he trained Joshua at one stage, didn't he? But I think Freddie Roach would be ideal to bring him in, no nonsense, take no shit type of trainer. Could Tyson Fury deal with that? I don't think he could, to be honest. I think, and Freddie Roach, would he even bother putting up with the shit they would get from Fury? Because Freddie Roach is a pretty straight line type of guy. Doesn't like all the razzmatazz. It's probably why him and Manny got along so well, because Manny, even though he was a smiling assassin, didn't go on with all that crap. And I think that's what Freddie Roach likes. I'm not sure that matchup would work, but you get what I'm saying. That type of trainer, a no-nonsense type of guy who would take Fury and take no shit, but whether Tyson Fury would be willing to accept that feedback and that discipline, who knows? George, how are you, mate? I'm not sure you've been on here before, but welcome to the show. Just on heavyweights, do you know what's happened to Willis Mean? Is he still boxing? George, last time I heard, he was behind bars, mate. It got in with the wrong crowd, did some bad stuff, and was behind bars. So it's a shame. Had all the ability in the world, could bang, could box, could do it all, but he could do everything except make better choices. So, mate, that's the last I heard, is that he might be away for a little while. But man, I'm super pissed off with Fury, mate. Let it out. Come on, we're all here together. Let it out. We'll all give you a virtual hug. You've said it a few times, but I get you, mate. I understand. I know you're British. I think from memory, yes, you are. You're a Brit. So I'm I get that you're pissed off with your countryman. We are too, mate. Glenn, let's be honest, Fury hasn't been in good shape since the second Wilder fight. He's just taken the piss and should retire. I 100% agree, Glenn, and I think he's very, very close. I think we're going to get the Usyk fight and maybe the Joshua fight, and that is it. Did you see, though, he's talking about signing a 10-fight deal? I mean, this is a guy that just makes it impossible to, one, take him seriously, but two, actually like the guy. I mean, we do like him, but to continue to like him and admire him, when he just the shit that comes out of his mouth, to say he's looking at signing a 10-fight deal, come on, Tyson. Batman shamed us all. Well, yes, he did, mate. I can't argue with that one. Cole says, do we know what has happened to Jamal Charlo and the IBF? Not as far as I know there, Kyle. I know, was it last week, I think we talked about this, that the IBF had made the Russian the mandatory and he had to defend against him. As I said against last time we discussed this, I think he gives the IBF belt up. I don't think you're not undisputed anymore. Tim, of course, is the WBO champion. So what's another belt matter? I don't think so. He's not undisputed, so get rid of one. I don't think he wants to fight anyone that's not a massive profile. I mean, if he doesn't want to fight Tim Tszyu, what hope has the Russian got, or anyone else for that matter? I think he wants to fight Crawford, or who knows? I think it's Crawford or bust at the moment, isn't it? Although he has started to mention Tim Tszyu's name, so we'll see. I still don't think he'll come back to 154, but you never know. Luke says, do you think Fury horrible performance against Francis and Usyk questionable body shot controversy against Dubois hurts the hype around undisputed match? I don't think so much Usyk, Luke. I think everyone's pretty much forgotten that performance. While if you're going to compare the two fights, mate, I think Usyk gets a pass, doesn't he, compared to what Fury dished up yesterday. Look, I think the dust will settle. I think it'll settle. Everyone will get over the anger. Even Batman Boxing, he'll get over it as well, hopefully, like the rest of us. I think the dust will settle. Give it a week or two. I think people will sort of tend to forget about this performance, especially if they do announce the Usyk Fury fight for whatever time it's going to be. I'm sure they'll already be in negotiations now about when are we going to do it. Let's face it, the December 23rd fight was never going to happen. 8 weeks after that fight was never going to happen. So I think it probably around March, to be honest. I think they might wait five months, at least February anyway. But I'm thinking March. It just makes sense. I mean, Usyk hasn't long been out of the ring either against Dubois. So, yeah, I think, as I said, mate, the dust will settle. We'll move on. And once they announce the fight, I think a lot of this will be forgotten, to be honest. And we'll all look forward to it. And we'll all, forget about it pretty quick. But anyway, Glenn says they ordered his mandatory. That's for the IBF belt for Jamal Charlo. Yes, but his time to accept should be up. Yeah, I think, they gave him 10 days or something, was it, Kyle? I can't remember, but you are right. The time is up. So I'm sure we'll hear about it soon. I think they only ordered it 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I think they had 2 weeks to agree to it, Glenn. I think they had 2 weeks to. I'm not sure. Not purse bids, of course, because it was a bit too soon. But I think he had 2 weeks to reply or give an indication about what he was going to do. I'm not quite sure, but I did read it was 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens. Batman says Fury also looked dramatically slower than he usually does. Hands, feet, and his upper body movement. I just think that come down to his proper preparation, Batman. I just think overall he was underdone, not just physically but also mentally. He didn't go in switched on at all. But looking at the fight, and I didn't watch it live. There's no way I was going to pay $40 for it. Although I did woke up a bit early, but turned the TV on at about 9 in the morning. I've been sort of lying there and thought, oh shit, the fight's on. So I turned the TV on and I saw that it hadn't started yet. I was tempted to pay the $40 and I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. And I didn't. I watched it on YouTube straight afterwards. Just right from the word go, slow, timing off. He was getting tagged with punches he doesn't normally get tagged with, just all over the shop. Missing punches by, a couple of inches. Just punches just falling short, missing, getting tagged with punches he shouldn't be getting tagged with. The whole thing was a mess. It really was. And it's embarrassing to think that all those celebrities there at ringside, they flew all those celebrities or athletes, whatever they are, boxers, UFC, all the rest of it over there to watch the fight and to put up that performance. Oh, it was embarrassing. And looking at the post-fight interviews after that, I think Tyson felt the heat, to be honest. Cole says, it's amazing how this cross-code fight is worthy of media attention because of one fighter embarrassed himself. Yeah, well, it's all over the stratosphere or the social media and mainstream media and the boxing sites. Everyone's talking about it, so maybe it might be a blessing in disguise for Tyson that he's got the publicity that he wanted, but for all the wrong reasons. So you see all the celebrities tweeting, is that what they still call it? I'm not on Twitter, but I know they, or I don't look at Twitter anyway. Is it X? They call X. What do they call it these days? Is it still tweeting? Or is it Xing or whatever the hell it is? But all the who's who of the celebrity world out there, actors and athletes and all that sort of stuff, commenting about it. No place to hide for Tyson Fury. So, but he did embarrass himself. Cole, he deserves everything that's coming at him for this. Look, end of the day, he decided to take everyone for a ride and it blew up in his face, so he needs to own it. And I would actually like him to maybe come out and say, almost issue a bit of an apology. Give Ngannou his credit and say, look, I'll be honest, I underestimated him. I didn't give him the due he deserved. Let's face it, I know he hadn't fought in the boxing ring before, but still a very well-credentialed and respected MMA fighter. So give him his respect, but I didn't train properly. I wasn't mentally prepared. I apologise to everyone that bought the fight and attended, and I'll get it right next time against Usyk. It's pretty simple to fix, but don't deny it. Don't sort of just deny that no one knows what they're talking about, because and just put it down to Ngannou putting on a great performance. I watched actually D-Style yesterday, his live he did after the fight, and if you haven't seen D-Style boxing, make sure you check it out on YouTube. It's one of the best channels you'll get on, and I'm not sure he normally comes on and watches here, but Eric on D-Style, really good one. And I reckon he did his review straight after the fight, and I felt for him. He was devastated. He really was. Not just because of Tyson Fury himself. I don't think he's a big fan of Fury anyway, but what he'd done to his beloved boxing. And I felt him, but I reckon he said embarrassed about 100 times during the 45-minute live. D-Style, maybe you and Batman need to hug it out, have a beer or something, and just relax. But I get it. But a lot of people very, very unhappy. Greg Crawford, how are you? Greg, I'm not sure I've seen you here before, so welcome to the show. I'm an Aussie living here in Japan. Okay, good stuff. Love the channel and content, mate. Keep up the great work, mate. I appreciate that. Really happy that you're tuning in. And if you've got any comments, questions, whatever it might be, put them in the comment section there, mate. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. And let us know a little bit what's going on over there in Japan. Dan P says, Usyk, I think, will beat Fury. Okay, Usyk weakness is to the body, and don't think Fury is much of a body puncher. Well, he's not. No, he's not a body puncher at all, Dan, and not a big puncher, whether it be to the head or body. So I don't think. Look, Fury, he's normally got a little bit of speed about him. He's normally a little bit quicker than the guys he fights, but Usyk's going to be faster than him by a long way. Has Fury got enough left to cut the ring off against Usyk, to line him up, to lean on him? You've got to remember, and this is why I'm undecided, because Usyk is not going to allow Fury to lean on him, to smother him. You've got to look at, this is how Tyson Fury beats a lot of his opponents. He lies on them, he ties them up, closes it up on the ropes, doesn't give them any room, just puts all his weight on them, makes them work, makes them tire themselves out. And that's how he's got a lot of his success. I mean, his ability's obviously got a lot to do with it, but he's not going to have that luxury against Usyk. Usyk's game plan will not to stand still. I don't think he'll run, but he'll give him angles. He'll pivot off to the right, he'll pivot off to the left. He'll throw 3 or 4 punches at a time. I think the odds are, no matter what, it's going the distance. I can't see either one of them stopping the other guy, especially Usyk stopping Fury. But that's the way I sort of see the fight. That's why I'm not decided, as I said, who I think is going to win at this stage. But intriguing anyway, Dan. But I'm with you. I understand that the body punching not part of Fury's repertoire. That's for sure. All right, I'll message you privately there, Kyle. Glenn, love hearing some Larry Holmes. Love what a fighter. Yeah, look, he was, Glenn. Big fan of Larry Holmes. I remember one of the first fights I ever saw on TV, Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney. You remember that? They tried to play it up like it was a Rocky saga, the good versus bad, and the racist undertones of the whole thing, which is obviously in this day and age is not great, but they played on it big time back then. And even at, what was I, about 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever I was, I still remember it. I still remember playing that angle. I remember watching the fight live on TV. I think it actually might have been the first live fight ever I'd watched on TV. And it's pretty rare here in Australia to get live fights back then, but we got that one. And what he did to Jerry Cooney, and I used to love him fighting the Witherspoon. Fought everyone. This is why he doesn't get enough credit. He fought the Witherspoons and the Ronaldo Snipeses and the Ernie Shavers and the Mike Weavers and Leon Spinks and all Bone Crusher Smiths and Carl the Truth Williams. All these, the best fighters of his era, he fought. He did. And I know he come unstuck against Michael Spinks in the end, which might be one of my top 10 upsets of all time. But, I think overall, just an unbelievable fighter. We all thought his career was over after the second Spinks fight. We thought it was definitely over when he got knocked out by Tyson, 2 years later, 3 years later? 2 years later, I think it was. He got knocked out by Tyson, took a break, came back, and he had one or two, might have been one crack, or I think it was one crack at the heavyweight title, beat Ray Mercer, who was in his prime, beat a lot of good fighters, and had almost a second career like George Foreman did. So thanks, Glenn. I'm with you, mate. Larry Holmes, one of my all-time favourite fighters. Kyle says, No Limit can't sell pay-per-views for fighters not ranked in the world's top 15. Yeah, well, that's what I said before, Kyle. I don't know what you guys think. That's why I think they should go down the track of the numbered event, not just about the main event on it, the whole card, and stack it, rather than having maybe one. I know you got to have a main event, and you got to pump some money into that, but stack it with maybe have 6 or 7 really good fights, and why not go up against, I'm going to say, why not go up against the footy on a Saturday or something? I probably understand why they can't, because footy here, whether it's AFL or league, is just, rules the airwaves. I get that. But why not have it like on a Thursday night? I think, people like it's almost like the start of the weekend, and have a 5 or 6 card, 5 or 6 fight card that's just stacked with great fights. Or do it on a Saturday. I don't know, but to do it with a card of 6 very, very good fights stacked from top to bottom of really good up-and-coming prospects. We've got so many in Australia, and most of them with no limit. So match them against each other. Use the no limit on Fox events to build the guys up, and then the numbered pay-per-views are the ones where you have to earn your shot to get on. So use those no limit on Fox on the Wednesday nights, the free shows, and make the fighters earn the crack at the big card. And who knows, might only be a 5-fight card, but make it all, maybe 6, 8. You can maybe have a couple of 6s, an 8, a 10, and a 12, and that's all you need. People just want quality. You don't need a heap of fights on a card for people to want. They just want quality fights. What do we got there? Luke, it just sucks. I see Jake Paul, an ex-Disney kid, beating MMA legends left and right, and our heavyweight champ is going life and death with one. I don't like seeing boxing made a mockery of. Yeah, I'm with you, Luke, and that's why I think so many people are pissed off today. Pissed off with Tyson Fury, one, for taking the fight in the first place and then putting in a performance like that. So I think I said on my review as well, I don't get caught up in the whole boxing versus UFC thing. I'm not a UFC fan, but I don't begrudge anyone that is. I'm just a boxing man, so I don't go the tit for tat thing between both of them. But I can understand 100% that a lot of people are that way, and they're pissed off that our sport that we all love has pretty much been hung out to dry by Tyson Fury. Andy, hi mate, nice to have you in the chat. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. There, so I'll go through some comments, a bit of back and forth between you guys. All right, Aslanbek, Muck, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. I cannot pronounce these guys' names. I was on the card and would have KO'd Francis in a couple of rounds max. I didn't see the undercard, I must admit, Batman. I just watched the main event after the fact, an hour afterwards. But, I'm sorry, Batman. So, I'm not quite sure. Well, I did see the Joseph Parker highlights. He didn't look too bad, although his opponent didn't look overly great, but it is what it is. Big J, T Street just told me that Frank Warren has confirmed that Furyk Usyk postponed until January, February 24. Yeah, that was pretty much announced straight after the fight, Big J. I think Fury himself said the morning after, or not long after the fight, that it wouldn't be this year. He said, I'll see you in 2024. I still think January, February might be a bit early. Remember, late October at the moment. Halloween Eve, 30th of October. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fury needs, 4 to 5 months to get, to where he wants to be. And even though not a lot of big punches were thrown or landed, you still need to let your body heal for whatever camp that he did. But at his age, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more like March. But anyway, we'll see. Imagine Bokadir Jalilov versus Jalilov. I don't know. You can see him on the screen. If you're listening on Spotify after the fact, you know who I'm getting at. He would slow Francis up. Yep, I get you there, mate. What do we got? Dan, I wonder who's next for Huni. Don't think he's ready for the top 10 or 15 yet. Yeah, no, I don't think he's either, Dan. I think he would probably freely admit that himself. I did speak to Mick Francis a few weeks back, and they've obviously got big plans for him. I think Eddie Hearn will be rubbing his hands together for maybe the next big heavyweight that he can take on after Anthony Joshua has gone. No, I don't think he's ready for top 10 or 15 yet. Maybe 15. Yeah, I think so. Maybe there's some top 15. But, but the fact he's only had 8 fights and he's only a young guy, I don't think they're in any hurry, Dan. Being a heavyweight, he's got a long career in front of him. I would like to see him maybe get, 8 fights, and at least another 4 or 5 fights before really stepping up to a top 10, I would think. And you probably will find they will do that. I mean, what was yesterday, a 10-rounder? Every fight now, of course, will be a 10-rounder. They might throw a 12-rounder in there. I just don't think they're in much of a hurry with him, to be honest, Dan. And why would they? As I said, he's only, early 20s, 23, 24, whatever it might be, I think. I can't remember. I know he's not that old. And for a heavyweight, that's just a baby. And he's had a lot of injuries, illness, all that sort of stuff. So I think they'll ease him back, although he did say he might be back in December. So we'll see. I think he needs to be busy. All right, Andy's entered the conversation with the Fury Ngannou fight. Full props to Francis Ngannou. He did way better than expected. Most of us expected a Fury whitewash. Yeah, I must admit I wasn't sure what to expect, Andy. I really wasn't. I didn't really know much about Ngannou. I'd seen a few highlights, but I had no idea what to expect. I did expect Fury to win quite easily, but I wasn't. Yeah, I went in there with an open mind, to be honest. But he did a lot better than a lot of people thought. So again, props to Ngannou and Tyson Fury. You gotta live with that one. And he says, in my opinion, Fury took Francis as lightly as we did. Get heavyweight undisputed over with, and I am fully prepared Fury would give that clinic like he was supposed to. Yeah, well, he's a type of fighter that probably, he can produce that performance, can't he? He might put in a shocker like he did yesterday, And he's had some shockers along the way, and then he comes out and fights a quality opponent and really puts on a great performance. So I think you'll see vintage Usyk against vintage Fury against Usyk. Whether that's enough, who knows? Congratulations, Justice Honey. Glad he's keen to get straight back before the year's end. Yeah. I'm a big fan for Justice Honey. I think he's got everything it takes to win the title, and whether he can emulate what Jai Pataya's done. They're from the same stable, of course, same trainer. Whether he can do that, probably a lot tougher at heavyweight than the competition at cruiserweight for Jai, but still, I just think he's got all the tools: speed, work rate. He's got the strength. I know he's not a big puncher, but as I said earlier, I just think he can get around it. I really do. James Brown. All of the Furies are hard to listen to. If I wanted to hear from an arsehole, I would have farted. I like that, James. That's just, look, I really hope that that Tyson wouldn't enter into all the circus that his dad and his brothers and cousins or whoever they are that have done in the YouTuber circuit. I just really hope that he didn't get involved. And I know, look, he didn't. I don't think he was probably as out there as what he normally is, to be honest. I think he let his dad do all the grandstanding. But as I said earlier, I just would hope that he would say to his dad, mate, I love you, but I need you to step aside for me to keep my concentration. I know why they're doing it. He loves to get his dad out there for a bit of fun. And look, maybe in the first couple of press conferences, all that sort of stuff, wheel him out to get people talking and get a few clips on the internet or whatever it might be. But as we get closer to the fight, maybe 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, whatever it might be, put him aside and say, Dad, now I've got to focus down to business. Because if you want to carry on at press conferences and weigh-ins and all the rest of it, go do it with Tommy Fury and all the rest of the other YouTube idiots. Do it with them. But Dad, I need to focus on this fight and I need you to step back. And I would have thought that, and maybe this might be the penny dropping, that being the heavyweight champion, a full-time elite athlete, that he would have had the brains to already do that. But maybe, as I said, this is the wake-up call that he needs. Kyle says, what did you think of the Serrano-Ramos fight? Ramos looked like the skinniest fighter alive. There wasn't much of her, was there? With absolutely no power behind her punches. They looked like mosquito bites to Serrano, yet she survived. Well, that's why I like Serrano, because she pretty much fights like a man. Now, a lot of the women, there's not a lot of power there, of course. A lot of it's pity-pat sort of punching, a lot of moving and, rat-a-tat punches and move, and that's okay, because that's the women's scene. That's cool. No different to what we see, whether it be AFLW or NRLW or the women's basketball. It's just a different type of game. But I like Serrano because she fights like a man. And I think the 12-3s really suit her. She's obviously got a bit of power. She's had 30 knockouts in 40-odd wins. So really good knockout ratio, not only for a girl, but also for a guy. So, I'm a fan of Serrano. But, yeah, I think I'm with you there, Kyle Ramos. I'm surprised she lasted the distance, to be honest, because she was fighting for survival for pretty much most of the fight, wasn't she? So... James says John Fury could be the captain of the English wanking team. Yeah, just get out of here. What is it with these fathers of these world champions? Look, one thing I'll give even like Floyd Mayweather Senior. One thing I'll give him. I know he's probably a little bit different early in his career, but he sort of kept out of his son's press conferences. But then we get Robert Guerrero's dad. We get Teofimo Lopez's dad. Who else was it? Danny Garcia's dad. They think it's all about them. They really do. And maybe, look, if the fighters aren't going to do it, as a promoter, I would probably say, all right, this is about the two fighters. Keep your dad or whoever it might be out there, keep them out of the way because I'm running the show, not you. I don't know. I just think these promoters they don't have enough control of the event. You got to remember, they're the ones stumping up the money to make the event happen. They're the ones putting the balls on the chopping block. They really are. So I don't know why they don't have a bit more control and say on these shows we don't tolerate that. Especially like a Bob Arum and a Frank Warren. I mean, these guys have been around for decades. Big J. Charlo has until November 9 to come to terms for the IBF belt. Okay, there you go. There's some clarification for whoever asked for it before. November 9th. I think, as I said before, Big J, he will give up that IBF belt because he hasn't got 4, so what's the difference of having 2 instead of 3? Bill Hack, how are you, Bill? Nice to see you on the show there, mate. My opinion, Team Fury and John Fury should watch Crawford versus Spence or Tim versus Mendoza press conferences. Huge respect, the Warriors way. Treat boxing as respectfully gentleman sport. Mate, 2 thumbs up to that one. I agree. Now, you're like me, you're from the old school, from the days of, I know Muhammad Ali was a little bit different, but the Haglers and Hearns and Tysons and Chavezes, there was never any, even De La Hoya, probably a little bit later on in his career, but not a lot of the theatrics that go in with a lot of these press conferences these days. They're all business. So I used to love that, mate. I used to love seeing Hagler with the war on his hat and, you know, the face-offs. Not these days, these circus ones where, you know, you've got the promoter in there and, you know, getting his head in there as much as he can. You've got the fighters who are pretty much doing it just for show. You can see there's no real animosity there. You look at the face-off between Hagler and Hearns back in the day, or Leonard and Duran and these types of guys. I mean, that for me was what it was all about. And to see these peanuts these days, and John Fury is probably the biggest peanut out there. There's probably a few others that could probably take the cake, but is just, for me, I get it that we need to create a following, especially in this day and age with the internet and social media, and I get that. But hey, massive gates back in the day, massive pay-per-views. They didn't need this bullshit to sell. I get it with the YouTube side of things because that's entertainment. I think that's sometimes we forget. A lot of people get defrosted about it, about the YouTube thing. I'm probably one of them sometimes, but they're entertainers. That's what they're doing. It's not a boxing event. It's entertainment. It's almost like WWE. That's what they're doing. They're cashing in on that part of the sport. There's an element of fans out there that, you know, the casual fans that wouldn't know who Tyson Fury is or Floyd Mayweather or whoever it might be. They don't know who those guys are, but they know who Jake Paul is. And even now, they probably know who Tommy Fury is. And there's a few of them I can't remember who they are. I don't want to know who they are. But there's an element to that, but I'm with you, Bill. They can have that. I want to go back to this, and real fight fans, I think, would agree with us. They need to get back to old school, although I don't think it's going to happen because when Bob Arum's gone, Frank Warren's gone, Eddie Hearn's probably not too bad, but once all those guys go, who are going to be the promoters coming up? And are they just going to go for all this bullshit, these circus acts that we see these days? I don't know. We need to almost have a debate, I think. What do you reckon? We get some people on one side and one on the other. Is boxing declining or is boxing actually increasing in popularity? I don't know. What's in as far as popularity goes, when you have a massive fight, pay-per-view numbers are through the roof. The problem is there's not enough of them. And I'm sure a lot of you guys and girls out there would have seen in the last week a really good thing getting around on social media is about the inactivity of fighters these days. I saw a lot of people share it about the inactivity of today's fighters. Lucky to fight once a year. Lucky if they do. Canelo's probably the most active fighter out there at the moment. Tim Tszyu obviously is coming. He's had 3 fights this year. Canelo always fights twice a year. You know, a lot of fighters are fighting maybe once a year, if not 18 months, 2 years, some 3 years. I mean, geez, where are we going as a sport if that's become the norm? Too much money in boxing. I suppose I've always been an advocate for pay them as much as you possibly can. But when you think about it, why do you have to fight when you're earning $10 million a year? Kyle, if I had $1 for every time D-Style, Calix Boxing and Joe Habib used embarrassing yesterday, I'd be able to retire. So you obviously saw the same program, Kyle. I couldn't help laughing. I really felt for him. He was hurting yesterday was D-Style. He was not in a good frame of mind. He probably should have done his review the day after. But anyway, I like the fact he gets straight on. True. Batman says, true, I'll be heading over to D-Style to also complain about that pathetic display from Fury. Well, as I said, mate, you guys can hug it out. Hopefully for Fury's sake, he's running up mountains as we speak. Yeah, I think he'd sort of have his tail in between his legs at the moment, Batman. I think he'd be feeling a little bit sore and sorry for himself today, not just with the body, but also his pride, I would think. Because as much as he can come and say that respect to Ngannou and all the rest of it, he knows the truth. He knows that he was very lucky to get the decision. He knows he was lucky to get out of jail with the knockdown. He knows that The fans are going to be pissed. So he would definitely have his tail between his legs today, if you ask me. All right, Kyle, loving the comments here, guys. Let's keep them going. We've got about 15 minutes to go. Batman, he's screaming the word Drago from the icy mountains of Russia. Maybe he's screaming Usyk from the mountains. Well, look, Kyle, I would love if Tyson Fury is out on those mountaintops today, yelling, because it means he's actually training. Batman says, honestly, seems like that's what he's needed. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Andy, back to Larry Holmes. I'm glad we're talking about Larry. Larry's a toss-up, 3/4 in my, or 3/4, 3 or 4 in my heavyweight GOAT list with George Foreman, to be honest. Accomplishments based, all things considered. Yeah, well, I must admit, up until, I think, with George Foreman's first career, I wouldn't have had him in the top 10. But the fact that he came back, and if you haven't seen the movie, check it out. It's probably, I didn't think it was overly great, but it was all right. It told a really good sort of tale of his story, of his life. I think they rushed it a bit, but anyway, that's a different story. I am going to do the top 10 boxing movies of all time, by the way, and the top 10 worst boxing movies of all time, just as a little bit of a precursor to what might be coming in the next sort of week or two. But his second career, winning the world title against Michael Moorer in what was, again, maybe one of the upsets of all time, just a little teaser out there. To beat Michael Moorer the way he did, and I won't say Michael Moorer was one of the greatest of all time, but the circumstances of that fight. What was he, 45 years of age? Moorer was the current champion. As I said, not one of the greatest, but still he was the champion. He'd beaten Holyfield for the title, which is a tough task. Holyfield, again, one of the all-time greats, and another very underrated champion, if you ask me, Evander Holyfield, just a warrior's warrior. He is. But yeah, I'm with you there, mate. I would think, for me, before we quickly move on, I know I've got comments there, I would have Ali and Lewis. I think I might have had Holmes number 3 in my rankings. We did them a long time ago. Maybe I'll have to do it again, but I think I had Ali 1, Lewis 2, and Holmes 3rd. Okay, that was my top 3, and I probably would have Foreman as probably top 4, top 5. I would think. I'm just trying to think who else might be in there. But anyway, there's plenty to choose from. Who do you guys have? But good comment there, Andy. Speaking of Andy, Francis Ngannou just had his Rocky 1 moment. Yeah, he did. Almost got there, didn't he, Andy? He just didn't close out the fight and lost a split decision. Big J, No Limit was built. This is No Limit boxing, of course, was built off the back of the fists of Paul Gallen. Unfortunately, they don't have another NRL player to replace him, and Tim is now going overseas. It could spell future problems for No Limit. Yeah, I'm with you. Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, as they say. I'm going to put my hand up there again. I'm out of focus. No, let me do that again. Oh. Translucent there. Hang on, let's see. There we go. That's better. Well, Paulo Akuso left the nest, didn't he? So I don't know what happened there. Obviously, yeah, like you said there, Gallen's gone. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Who have they got coming through? And Tim's going to be overseas now. He'll obviously take care of the pay-per-view component of it. They've got Nikita coming through. But who are the next generation of pay-per-view stars that is in the No Limit roster? Because I can't think of any. Look, I'm a massive fan of Liam Wilson, fan of Sam Goodman. I'm a fan of, who else is coming through? Huni, but he's obviously with someone else. He's with Matchroom, of course. I don't really see anyone else around the mark. Who's the next pay-per-view guys coming through? And that's why I said again, a pay-per-view numbered card rather than just based around one fighter. Make it about all the best fighters in Australia. Go out and get the best fighters in Australia. I mean, they've got most of them now. Matchroom and Tasman Fighters have probably got the others. Make it about the numbered cards, and you have to earn your way onto those cards, so it's always the best versus the best. Dan says, agree with the Larry Holmes love. The fight with Ken Norton is one of the greatest fights ever. Yeah. And watch the 15th round of that. You'll talk about 15th round, I will say, not the 12th. 15th round would have been at Caesars Palace during the day, I think it was, because back then they used to do Saturday afternoon fights, not Saturday night fights. Stinking hot in the pavilion at Caesars Palace in the 15th round, going toe-to-toe. These guys epitomise great heavyweight boxers. And Ken Norton, again, is another very, very underrated one. It's just unfortunately he was around in that era because he was a great fighter. Of course, he did get the win over Muhammad Ali in the first one, but with fighters like Holmes and Foreman and these types of guys, it was always pretty tough for him. But I did actually meet Ken Norton once in Las Vegas, an absolute gentleman. Rest in peace, Kenny. Just an absolute gentleman he was. James, I agree on Big John. Yep. Father Bear needs to sit down, shut up, and let his sons have the limelight. Yeah, just sit down and take it easy, John. No one wants to see you. Speaking of Holmes and Honey, I would love Honey to base his style more on him and fight more on the outside and use the good jab he has more often. Yeah, the only problem with that, Dan, is that, as has been noted here a couple of times, is the lack of power. I just think on the outside, I'm not sure he would be as effective without the power to keep fighters off him. If he allows some of those bigger guys to come at him, I think he might struggle to sort of hold them off if he's trying to box them. I don't mind him actually going to them, as dangerous as that can be, of course, but going to them and dictating the work rate, putting the really high work rate on them to make them work and tire themselves out. If he's on the outside, that makes them allows them to dictate the pace, set the range, set the pace of the fight. And I just think with his lack of power, that might not be in his best interest. So I don't mind him coming forward and making these big heavyweights work. Now, Tabiti was actually a blown-up cruiserweight, and he struggled to go with Honey. So I think if he gets a big heavyweight in front of him, that work rate that he has, I think that he can cause all sorts of dramas. He almost reminds me a bit of Michael Spinks when he went up from light heavyweight to heavyweight, different body types, but just the way he comes at them and he throws 4, 5, 6 punches in a row. And a normal heavyweight just can't handle that. And that's why Spinks had success. Except against Mike Tyson, of course, because Mike Tyson wasn't taking any shit. Batman, Fury had a team of like 50 people, 40 of which do nothing, I assume. Yeah, get rid of the entourage, do the Rocky thing, go back to basics, get them out of your life, and go back to the people that got you to where you are. And let's get back to basics. Get the eye of the tiger back, Tyson. But it says, looked like Rocky 3 when Rocky took his eye off the ball for that one fight. Yeah, well, I agree with you there, mate. All right, what do we got there? Lynden, yes, mate, he's probably a smart peanut playing off that WWE BS. Yes, this is John Fury we're talking about. Fury's face looked a mess also. Really shame boxing. Yeah, he did, didn't he? I didn't think, apart from that, the knockdown punch, that he took a lot, but I suppose there's a lot of, scuffing with the glove and the head and all that sort of stuff. He had a nice black eye as well. So, yeah, he did. He looked a little bit more beaten up than I thought he would, Batman. And he says, yes, Kyle, they're all disappointed like the rest of us at Fury. Yep, shake your head. I'm with you there, mate. Kyle says, Shanika Johnson is now managed by Rival Sports Management. I think you asked that question last week. Yeah, she's with, I thought she was with Lou DiBella, to be honest, Kyle, unless losing that last fight severed that arrangement. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure with that, mate. Batman, what's that one say there, mate? Foreman winning that title 20 years on the same shorts. He was stopped by Ali. And yeah, that's a good point. He did too. Greatest comeback in the history of sport. Just my opinion, mate. I'm certainly not going to argue with that, mate. 45 years of age to come back. And this is not tennis or being a quarterback where you don't actually, well, you do get hit, but very rarely. You just get it and throw it off, or a kicker, whatever it might be. This is in there swapping punches with the best heavyweights in the world at 45 years of age and wins the world heavyweight title for the second time. 20 years apart. Unbelievable. Maybe we should do a thing on that. The 10 best boxing stories of all time. That would have to be right up there, I would think. Yep, 1 or 2 is a toss-up between Lewis and Ali for me. Lennox is a solid number 5. Yep, wouldn't argue with that there, mate. What's next for Sugar Neeks? No idea, mate. A lot of pressure on the Nikita Zoo for someone so early on, but he seems like the type to thrive off that. Yeah, he does. I don't think the spotlight really worries him that much, Batman. The problem is that when you're a main event on a pay-per-view show, obviously you got to fight quality opponents. And is he ready after 8 years out of the ring? And what's he had, 6 or 7 fights now? So Dylan Biggs, very, very dangerous fighter. Make no mistake about it, very dangerous opponent for Nikita, as was Jack Brubaker. But I think the Brubaker fight showed that It's still a thing. What do you call it? A project to be worked on, and it showed a lot of heart and ticker in that fight to Tim Tszyu, but it just showed getting nailed. He had to probably work on a few things with his style. So I'm just not sure whether he's ready for the pay-per-view segment yet. The pressure that's going to go on that, because as I said, he's got to fight very, very credible opponents, and maybe he's just not ready yet. But Dylan Biggs is the biggest test for him so far. I think Nikita Tszyu beats Dylan Biggs, if I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people think this might be Nikita's first loss, but I think Dylan Biggs' style is custom made for Nikita. He's not awkward like Jack Brubaker was. I don't think he punches as hard as what Brubaker does. And I just think that he's the right type of experience level as well for Nikita. And I think Nikita Tszyu wins that fight. Won't say easily, but clear cut. Yes, Batman, rest in peace, Ken Norton. Kyle, so we're still on the Sugar Neeks thing here, are we? What have we got? Love to see Sugar Neeks against Panerai Netis, that name again. Netisri. She's number one in the WBO, and she can knock her off. She gets a shot at her. Yeah, well, she's got to probably get a couple of comeback fights under her belt first, I would think, Kyle. Another one on Sugar Neeks there. Could move up in weight with Sky Nicholson, Beck Hawker. They can wreak havoc in the featherweight division after Serrano departs. Yep, she could. She could probably go up in weight, no problem, I would think. Pretty sure her and Sky Nicholson are pretty good mates, I would think, but I don't know. Beck Hawker would be a pretty good fight for her. Yep, be awesome for her to climb back into contention. Yep. Sorry, Lyndon, I thought it was UFC. It was PFL. Okay, is that the O'Malley fighter, I think? I would definitely take my time with Tszyu. No need to rush. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. But I've just maybe as well that No Limit probably might be, look, I don't know, might be saying, hey, we need some names on our pay-per-view. So whether you're ready or not, Nikita, we need to push you forward. We'll be talking to Glenn Jennings, of course, saying, Glenn, we need Nikita to step up. It might be 5 fights too early, but we need him to step up. And I would think Glenn would say, no problem, let's just make sure that he's matched accordingly. And Dylan Biggs, I think, is a really good fight for him. I think it's a really, really good fight. A fight that, as I said, Nikita wins, but really good in his development. So I like that fight. But again, as you guys have noted, is it worth $60? With a good undercard, I think it is. Or maybe, yeah. But let's hope, as I said, that Isaac Hardman gets a quality opponent on the undercard and, it sort of, beefs it up a little bit. Nikita, that is obviously Tim is ready for whoever, whenever, wherever. Yep. Yeah, well, he is, mate. Well, Tim obviously is, but Nikita, I think, still at least 5 fights away, I would think, if not 6, 7 fights. Because I think with Tim, I think he might have had, I think he might have had 12 or 13 fights before he really stepped up. I think I've said it on here before. I promoted Tim's last fight before he went to No Limit. And that was against an Argentinian journeyman. And after that, he went to No Limit and fought Joel Camilleri. He fought Brubaker. He fought the late Dwight Ritchie. He was going to fight Zarafa, but as you can see there, he's just progressed from there and just gone from strength to strength. So, how about Wardley KO of Adalia? Congrats, Fabio. Yeah, that was a good knockout, wasn't it? There was a few good knockouts on that. How about the Sharky Foster knockout too? How was that? That was a ripper. 12th round. It was an awesome fight. Yep, Batman agrees. Wardley looks sharp. So, all good. Well, guys, I think that's almost about it for the episode. I think we've run out of comments here. There might be a couple more coming through, but I think we'll leave it at that tonight. Make sure you check out my review of yesterday's fights, Ahuni, Tabiti, and Fury and Garno fights. It's a double-header review. There's also the Watch Your Verdict fight, the Anthony Mundine, Danny Green, number 2 fight from 2017. I did do a poll on that one. Just to let you know about that, it was 58% said Anthony Mundine should have won. I think it was 38% said that Danny Green should have won, and 7% said it was a draw. So sort of even. I had it a draw for what it was worth, although really could have gone either. Very, very tough fight to score. So check that out. And as I said, this week we'll do the roundup, and then we'll probably might do the world top 10, and I'm also going to do the biggest upsets of all time as well. So plenty to look forward to. Really appreciate everyone joining in again. Yep, smash that like button, folks. Thanks, Batman, for joining in. Great show. Yep, really appreciate it, guys, and look forward to seeing you all next week on Talking Boxing. See you then.